Good evening and welcome to the school board meeting of September 10th. I'll call this meeting to order. Adoption of the agenda. Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda?
No.
Okay. With that, I'll accept a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Vote as follows. Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Levier?
Yes.
Trustee Peterson?
Yes.
And Trustee Dannenberg?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0.
Okay. It doesn't look like we have any public comments for closed session. Okay, we'll be moving to closed session to have conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. B, public employee discipline dismissal and release pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B, and conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation to Government Code 54956.9D1. Entertain a motion to go to closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Vote as follows. Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Levier?
Yes.
Trustee Peterson?
Yes.
And Trustee Dannenberg?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. We'll go to closed session now. Good evening and welcome back to the school board meeting for September 10th. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before roll call, just want to welcome our student board members. This is the first time this year we've had our student board members, so we're very pleased to have you here. So thank you for being here. Okay, roll call, Ms. Dahm.
Thank you. President Dr. Jerry Dannenberg.
Here.
Vice President Calvin Peterson.
Here.
Trustee James Forsythe.
Here.
Trustee Alicia Levier.
Here.
Trustee Sabrina Rodriguez.
Here.
Superintendent Dr. Antonio Castro.
Here.
Student Board Member Kimberly Chavarria.
Here.
Student Board Member Alondra Contreras.
Here.
And Student Board Member Olivia Mobley.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 10, report of actions taken in closed session. Tonight, we did not take any actions in closed session. Number 11, superintendent's report. Dr. Castro.
Thank you, Dr. Dannenberg. Before we move to the student board reports, I have two gratitude awards to spend time on, so these will be a little bit longer than we typically have when we have more. The first one is a recognition for Paula Rodriguez, teacher at Anacapa. She is described as a champion of Anacapa's two-way immersion program, in which the students take courses in English and Spanish. Along with teaching history, she currently serves as the dual language program liaison. In this role, she supports multilingual learners in acquiring the 3 pillars of dual languages. This past year, as I've reported in the previous meeting, there's a lot of pride on this, that she was instrumental in the success of the AP Spanish Language and Culture Pilot. As a result of the hard work, she and the entire TWI team, 43% of the 8th grade TWI students who volunteered to take the exam passed with a score of 3 or higher. So we thank her and always for supporting students in their personal, academic, and social-emotional learning. And before we share our appreciation, we have one more to read. This is for 2 teachers at Jumpstart. One is June Chan and Bernadette Guillen. They're listed as deserving of recognition for their exceptional dedication, creativity, and impact as preschool teachers at the Jumpstart program located at the Atlas site. Their commitment to fostering and nurturing engaging learning environments for young students is extraordinary. They have a unique ability to connect with each child, understanding their individual needs and strengths, and the challenges that they need to overcome. They ensure that each child feels valued and supported in their early educational journey, and they go above and beyond for their families in the educational process, communicating and providing resources to children in the development at home. So if you would, please join me in showing our appreciations for these nominees. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, our student board reports. Kim, you're first from Buena High School.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I hope to provide a little insight on what is happening at Buena and what we plan on doing. So during the first couple weeks at Buena, we had very informative and a successful orientation. We were able to hand out agendas to each and every student this year, again, which was very helpful for everyone. We have VC dual enrollment workshops that happened, which is amazing because it helps students enroll for the fall that's already happening right now. We had various college rep visits from Texas Tech, Baylor University, Boston University, and Oregon State University. We also have tutoring available on Mondays and Wednesdays, and the Wellness Center provided a decorated journal, which was amazing. If any of the Buena students are watching, they know that it was a great way to bond with everyone. Some things that are happening with sports is Buena in football beat Fillmore on the 5th, 23-19. Cross country just went to Moore Park and had many PRs and great times. Volleyball has been going through some changes with the staff and is looking forward to improving as the season goes on. Some student achievement at Buena is cross country went to Moore Park. Football, the head coach Ryan Bolin says, looking forward to a competitive year, both in preseason and in some new league opponents for the Friday Night Lights. And in volleyball, we have Ashley Solkowski, one of the captains at Buena. I just want the best for our team this season, and I can't wait to finish off the season strong as a senior. A highlight, one of the electives that we have at Buena is Buena Avid, and it's an amazing program. I personally am in the program. It helps a lot of the first generation students at Buena receive a good organization of what it is to choose the path of going straight to a four-year university. And a lot of students have been successful these past weeks getting organized in the first weeks of school. Something interesting about to happen is the drama department is already putting up the fall play, which is The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I personally don't know this legend, so please do not ask me what it's about. But we already have our cast list, and I'm excited to go see what this play is about, and I'm excited for the new teacher leading the theater department, Miss Ensminger, to provide an amazing show. Also already up and running is Buena Today and Buena Speaks. Buena Today is the newscast kind of thing happening at Buena, which is where each week we have 2 videos that are submitted, and we watch it during first period or second period. And they're just great ways for the students at Buena to know what's going on that week. Like, we have Spear Week this week because we have homecoming this weekend, and today was camo day. I had my camo on today. Unfortunately, I couldn't wear it for the board meeting, but it was it's a great week right now at Buena because of the homecoming game coming up. And then Buena Speaks is the newsletter and also the website that we have at Buena, which has different articles and different amazing things that's happening at Buena. Coming up, we have a UCSB college rep visit, homecoming rally on September 11th, which is tomorrow, homecoming game and dance on the 13th and 14th, and then back to school night, which is September 16th next week. I hope I provided a great highlight of what's been going on at Buena. Thank you.
You did a great job. Thank you. Now from Pacific High School, Alondra.
Hi, good afternoon. So for the past couple weeks, these have been our highlights. We started off the school year with our Quarter 4 Renaissance Assembly, in which 53 students who made over 20 credits during Quarter 4 of last school year were awarded certificates and were honored at our assembly. Medals were also awarded to the students who made Renaissance for all 4 quarters of the 2023 to 2024 school year. We also started off with our pop art project, which is a Pacific High School tradition throughout our homeroom classes, in which we painted self-portraits, wrote down some fun facts, and we wrote personal mission statements as introductions to each other as classmates. We also welcomed our new wellness counselor, and we also had our very first wellness peer meeting, in which they were discussing beginning of the year activities, discussions on ways to promote wellness throughout the homeroom classes, and we also invited homeroom classes to become familiar and comfortable with the Wellness Center. We also had started our Elder Buddy project, which is a PBL project in which the students will travel every Thursday for 15 weeks to the Ventura Townhouse. They create a special bond with one elderly resident, and they learn about the history through the point of view of their Elder Buddy. They also get to create a book that gets to document the Elder Buddy's life and their time together. And last week for ASB, they had a guest speaker in which the students had to work on team building and team effort, as well as socialize with one another and share activities for school-wide activities.
Thank you very much. Good job. You didn't sound nervous at all. Nailed it, yes. Okay, from Ventura High School, Olivia.
Perfect. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Olivia, and these are just some highlights from the first couple months of school at Ventura High School. So starting out, we started strong with orientation, which this year was pretty much entirely run by our link crew and admin. And our link crew is a student-run organization on campus that's just focused on bridging the gap between new freshmen on campus and everybody else. So it's just a lot of, they're offering tutoring sessions, they gave a lot of tours on campus, and there's generally people on campus that these freshmen can trust. And then we had performances from our cheer, dance, hip hop, and drumline, who all did amazing. And it was just all, the goal was getting people excited about the school year and show new freshmen are on campus. So it was really good. And then the first Friday of school, actually, we had our first school dance and our rally. And it was our first rally with a DJ, and we had great class participation, which was really cool to see. And we introduced a new thing to Ventura High School called Clash of Classes, which is basically each grade level just works with their grade level in different spirit days and food drives to earn the most points for their grade level, and the grade with the most points at the end will get some sort of reward. And it's just been really interesting to see the grades kind of come together and form their own communities within our school. So that's been really important. And our dance went really well too. We had a lot of underclassmen show up, which was really important to see, especially for it being the first Friday of school. So that was really awesome. And then something new on campus this year is something we're calling High Five Fridays. And it's a collaboration between our admin and our music department. And student-led bands every Friday have been performing live. And it's not just people in the music department. We also have some people who are not in the music department who just have their own bands inside and outside of school. And it's been really cool. And this is all in place of just ASB used to play music at lunch, so it's been really awesome to give these students an opportunity to perform live and showcase what they've been working on. And they also get to create their own flyers every week, and they put them up around campus, so it's just a really cool experience for all these people, especially the ones who want to go into the music industry. It's a great opportunity for all of them. And then just a few athletic highlights that we've had. Our girls flag football team, they participated and were selected as the Rams game of the week for girls flag football. And they received a donation from the Rams, the LA Rams. They went to the girls flag football program at Ventura High School. And that was really awesome because it is such a new program and they've really been doing great, and it's really exciting to see. And then our cross country team recently, the Jaguar Invitational, was in 92-degree heat in Oxnard, and it sounded like everybody did really awesome. So that was something that was really good to hear. And then college rep visits in our College and Career Center. We've had a lot of great ones so far. We've had Baylor, Syracuse, CSU Monterey, University of Oregon, Seton Hall. Just today we had Boston University come in. And something that is really awesome about this is that it's a way to show demonstrated interest in all of these colleges without having to spend the money to actually go visit, or if you're not able to do it online. So it's a really great opportunity for people who want to explore what they're going to do next year. And then some upcoming events we have is starting tomorrow we have Club Week, which is going to be all of our clubs on campus can set up on our quad. And basically they just have sign-ups, and it allows people to discover what communities they can be a part of on campus. And then next week we're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Week, and every day at lunch we're going to have different activities and informational booths set up on the quad as well for people to come during lunch, and it's going to be really good. And then next week we also have back to school night on the 25th, and then the 27th it's going to be our first blood drive. So we're really excited for this school year. It's been good so far.
Very good job. Thank you. You all did a great job. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to correspondence. We have one piece of correspondence from the County of Ventura County Clerk, Recorder, and Register of Voters. It's informing us that in trustee area number 3, there was only one person running, and that's Ms. Fredericks, Shannon Fredericks, who's right here, that's telling us that she has been selected because nobody else ran against her as our new board member starting in December. So congratulations, Ms. Fredericks. Any other correspondence? Hearing none, we'll go on to public comments.
Thank you. Good evening. Those that are speaking this evening, and I believe we only have one general public comment at this time. You will have 3 minutes. I will give you a 30-second warning, and the timer will indicate when time is up. The governing board recognizes the impact that civility has in the effective operation of the district, including its role in creating a safe and positive school climate and enabling a focus on student well-being, learning, and achievement. The board believes that each person should be treated with dignity and respect in their interactions within the school community. The board understands that the First Amendment provides strong protection for speech. However, the board expects that all speech, expression, and action will follow the norms of civil behavior on district grounds and district facilities during district activities, meetings, and events, and in the use of district electronic digital systems and platforms. Please remember that this meeting is streaming live, and we do have students that attend and watch our meetings, so please keep language as respectful as possible. Please also note that the microphone at the podium has been calibrated, and there's no need to touch the microphone, just speak right into it. And so our first public comment, oops, wrong computer, is Heather Lacayo. Come on up.
I was just sending you an email. Hi, I'm Heather Lacayo. I'm going to go right into my email that I just sent to everybody, not everybody, but almost everybody, because I didn't have a chance to send it earlier today. Dear VUSD board members, my daughter is a 6th grader and is new to De Anza Academy of Technical Arts. After touring the closest middle school to our home, Balboa, our boundary school, Anacapa, and the school that the majority of her peers and friends from Lincoln Elementary School attend, Cabrillo, we chose Data. Our decision was based almost entirely upon the amazing program, the Idea Academy, into which my daughter excitedly applied and was admitted. For us, the strong appeal in the program's design, which encourages student engagement, in-depth project-based learning, is emphasized as teachers have extended periods of time that allow practical and thorough application of concepts. Students learn that subjects do not exist in a vacuum but are collectively important to success, while simultaneously creating strong bonds with peers in a cohort setting that promotes collaboration and cooperation. The block schedule and core student grouping has allowed my daughter to transition almost seamlessly from elementary to middle school. She gets up every morning excited to go to school and has quickly and easily formed new friendships with her core peer group in the block schedule. I believe we should be celebrating programs like the one at Data, and I find myself concerned by a recent, it says push, but I don't know that it's a push, but to unblock or uncore this particular program and the school in general. I fear this will significantly negatively alter our students' learning experience. At a time when many of our children are struggling with underdeveloped social skills and mental health concerns such as anxiety and depression, a program like the one at Data that promotes collaboration and relationship building should be fully supported. I have spoken to current teachers as well as district representatives about the issue of fatefully altering the wonderful years-old program from the current operating precedent to align with an Ed Code compliance concern recently brought forth. My hope is that VUSD values programs like this one enough to investigate all available options before dismantling something so wonderful. And I mean that from my heart, and that's not in my email. My understanding is that CalPADS has a course description designation, course code 1000, that would correctly describe the integrated math, science, and language arts social studies courses that the block schedule instructors are currently teaching, thereby negating the perceived Ed Code compliance issue. I believe we all have the best interest of our students at heart, and that if we work together cooperatively to support our outstanding programs like the one at Data, and collaboratively with the teachers that are involved in this program and others at Data to find ways to keep collaboratively, I talked a lot, to find ways to keep the block and cord courses our children will benefit. And thank you for your time. I have also emailed this to all the board members, and I ask that this be agendized as a discussion for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, student board members, we allow you to leave if you have things you want to do or you don't want to stick around, but we have a lot more things to discuss yet tonight, so it's up to you. Whether you're always welcome to stay, but you don't have to. So thank you for being here. Okay, moving into our action agenda. Item number 1, superintendent requests proposed changes in delineations and additions to board policies and administrative regulations. Dr. Castro?
Thank you, Dr. Dannenberg. Staff does not have a presentation. These were initially brought forward a couple months ago. We're bringing them forward now that our entire team is back, and so we haven't. If anyone has any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Any questions?
Move approval.
Move approval.
Thank you. Vote as follows. Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Levere?
Oh, do we have a second?
Oh, I heard
I
a,
second.
sorry. She wasn't here and I jumped the gun. I'm sorry. Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Levere?
Yes.
Trustee Forsythe?
Yes.
Trustee Peterson?
Yes.
Trustee Dannenberg?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Business Services, 23-24 unaudited actual financial report. Dr. Mirza?
All right, good evening, Board. So tonight I'll be presenting on our unaudited actuals for 23-24 fiscal year. So what unaudited actuals are is pretty much our year end, how we closed our books, where all the revenues landed, how all the expenses did. And so we'll get right into it. And so in May and June, I came and presented last, which was our adopted budget for 24-25. At that same time, we have to present to the board what's called estimated actuals. And so that is where we think we would land. We have like 3 or 4 months left of the year. And so we come with our best projections of where we think we would end up for all revenues, unrestricted and restricted, and where we think we will land by the end of the fiscal year for expenditures, whether in unrestricted and restricted. So since June, since June, we've now closed our books and we're here now in September. And so I will be going over pretty much what has changed since estimated actuals and use that as a comparison point and what differed in both revenue and expenses. And so all year-end closing entries have been posted. Any unspent allocations, any unspent allocations have been identified and reserved and assigned to the appropriate fund balances. And our comparison factor would be our estimated actuals. And so, just wanted to point out, so the differences that we see, some are foreseen, some are unforeseen from revenue and expenses. We still have time to update our annual budget for 24-25 because we're presenting it at the same time as the estimated actual. So there's a timing difference, and then we're closing our books. And so our next opportunity to update our budget will be in December, where we'll have our first interim presentation. So wherever things have landed, like permanent changes in revenue or expenses, that we foresee ongoing in the future, we'll have to update that in our 24-25 adopted budget. Let's see here. So why are projections different? You have revenues that are really received that weren't anticipated or weren't budgeted for. You have revised estimates that and timing differences from estimated actuals and then receiving our fourth quarter apportionments and just final award amounts. You have expenditure allocations. You have budgets that were expected to be used fully, which departments didn't fully utilize. And then you also have purchase orders that were expected to be received and issued by June 30th, but were received after. We can't expend that in 23-24 fiscal year. So let's go right into the revenues and just stop me whenever you guys have questions. So for estimated actuals, for the unrestricted and restricted, this is a combined look. So if you look at our LCFF, really it increased about 199,000, and that's just based on our final revised base grant allocation for LCFF. Our federal asset funds decreased. We had budgeted $100,000 more than what was actually received, so we received about $100,000 less. And so we would need to update our 24-25 budget accordingly if this is an ongoing decrease. State revenue saw the biggest shift in what we expected to occur to what occurred. We received a higher apportionment for unrestricted and restricted lottery that equated to about $1 million. And then the remaining revenue was new revenue that we did not expect to receive, was our mental health funds. And we got a notification from the county that these funds were sitting with the county office, and so they transferred them over. But these are technically from 22-23, and so what we need to find out before first interim if these are going to be ongoing and continue, and then make that adjustment in our adopted budget. And so, and then our local, sorry.
I was just going to ask, so the mental health funds, those are not reimbursement funds, those are
No.
allocations for a grant?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And then our local revenue came in 353 higher than what we expected to receive. Now, the next step before we get to expenses is contributions. So what a contribution is are programs that cannot self-sustain themselves. So for instance, like special education only, we all know it's not funded to the proper level by the state and the feds. So for example, we received $17 million, oh, sorry, wrong slide. So we received $17 million of revenue, but our expenses are at $35 million. And so what a contribution is general fund picks up the remaining expenses and covers the cost for that. Because we can't stop services, for those students, so we would have to, that's just what the concept of a contribution is. If a program can't self-sustain itself, whether it doesn't have revenue, so like routine maintenance where it says RRMA, that's routine maintenance. There is no special revenue source for routine maintenance. It's just that the district has to look at the total expenditures at the end of the fiscal year, multiply that by 3%, and that's what we're required to show as our general fund contribution. And so with that, our contributions actually decreased from what we were expecting at estimated actuals. So that's a good thing. Contribution going down, meaning general fund expenses that a general fund shells out to cover those other programs are reduced.
So the RRMA is that the
Routine maintenance facilities.
Oh, it's facilities.
Facilities,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Because I thought we were talking about like maintenance of effort when I see the word maintenance, but that's not. Okay.
Yeah, RRMA is the actual program is what it's called, but it's really our facilities department. And so there's no funding for that. It all comes from the general fund. So, but we at least have to match 3% of our total expenditures. So at the end of the fiscal year, whatever our total expenditures line is, we just multiply it by 3%, and we have to make sure that the general fund shows that at least minimum of that contribution. And so, however, their costs went down about $463,000 as well. And so now,
Before you go on, though, what I also heard was another question about special ed maintenance of effort. After we finish this, or in another slide, or do you just want to say that we met our maintenance of effort?
We did meet our maintenance of effort. Okay. We're required, we have 4 tests, and we're required to only meet one of them, and so we met our local expenditures match and our budgeted allocation as well. If we don't meet our budgeted allocation for MOE, meaning we're at, if we don't budget enough and don't meet that MOE factor, potentially we could lose our federal funds. So we have to make sure that we meet that. So the impact on the general fund, where are we? Let me go back to the expenditures. Okay, so for expenses, for total unrestricted and restricted expenditure changes, you see some stark differences, and that is, and I'll get into exactly what happened here in each account. Certificated salaries were pretty much right on the mark. We're at estimated actuals. We said we would be at 89.3. We landed at 89.389, so it was about a $73,000 variances. Classified salaries had the largest variance, about $3 million. Benefits and contracted services also had quite a bit amount of a variance, which we'll get into right now. So classified salaries, really you had an increase of $100,000 due to retirement incentives. And then you also had $890,000 of extra hours and overtime that were more than what we budgeted. And then you had $1.9 million. I know we had the PARS offer last year, so it's just a lot higher than you expect when somebody leaves the district, the vacation payout. They all get vacation paid out. And so that just was not budgeted for in estimated actuals. And so what we found out is, first of all, we never have that many people exiting our district. And so we have to analyze for the 24-25 budget at first interim, approximately how many people are, outside of the PARs normally retiring, and how many people are taking vacation payouts based on, if they're maxed out at a certain point, they get cashed out. They can only carry a certain amount of vacation hours, and the rest of it gets paid out to them. So, yeah, and so the benefits and contracted services, why I'm putting them together is that at estimated actuals, we offered the retirement incentive PARs. With that came the payment that we had to make to PARs, not the payment that we made to the individuals, the retiree, but the actual cost of that PARs program. And so we had budgeted it to be paid out of contracted services. In our minds, it's like, okay, we're just going to pay the vendor, so we'll account for the cost here. But after looking at our California school accounting manual, it says that that cost has to be paid out of a benefits account. So that's why you see there's an increase in benefits. It's really not actual health and welfare benefits. It's the PARS payment that has to be paid out of there. And it was the reverse on the contracted services side. And the remaining contracted service decrease was honestly just like contracts that didn't become fully materialized. So what I mean by that is people are setting up purchase orders, and departments are setting up purchase orders a lot higher than they should be, because those expenses are not becoming fully materialized. So in the budget, you may have, say $12 million for special ed staffing, but what's their actuals maybe $9 million, right? So we just need to make sure that we are adjusting their budgets down accordingly and budgeting properly. And so that would mean meeting with the different departments, discussing how much they have in the budget, and kind of trying to right-size their budgets accordingly. And so for supplies, that was the same thing, which, from my perspective, okay, if they don't spend it, it's just more money in the general fund, but it's still loss of opportunities and services and supplies that could be provided for the students. So supplies also came under budget. There's various departments such as transportation, facilities, partial tax expenditures that didn't fully become materialized. And I'm not saying it could have been a timing issue where, for transportation, they had so much in there for wheel replacements and tires every year, and maybe they didn't. Well, we were buying a lot of new buses, so maybe those expenses didn't come to fruition. But either way, they need to right-size their budgets accordingly. Yes, the other way. That's what I say. I don't mind, but so the capital outlay is based on the EP Foster Annex. We can only pay the bills as fast as they come, and so it's still under construction, and so it came under budget, but as the project gets fully completed, we'll fully see that come to materialize.
Assam, before you move on to the next one, you were talking about some of the, I'm going to use the term kind of like a budget reconciliation as a hypothetical, but we actually engaged as you saw what this presentation was going to look like. Can you share about some of the conversations you actually were having with departments as it related to
as we go through our first interim and second interim budgeting, that's what I was noticing, because we're looking at like a three-year trend on a lot of the accounts, and it's like you have this amount budgeted, but you've only spent this much for the past 3 to 5 years. Is there something special going on this year? Is there an emergency you're planning for? Is there an event that that needs to be budgeted? Or if not, and it's just because you've had this budget, we're just going to drop it. We're going to reduce it to the proper level that it needs to be. And so those are the type of conversations we're having with all departments across the board. So as we fine tune it, we'll get better and better. And may be years that it goes the other way where, you know, we didn't budget enough because maybe an emergency happened, but then that variance is better. I feel it's better to explain, hey, we had a roof damage that we didn't expect, so here's a $150,000 extra cost comparatively to, hey, they didn't spend what they're supposed to spend. Okay.
Thank you.
And so overall, we did good. We broke even. I would say we made an increase of $151,358.59. As you see, our unrestricted balance increased about $6.4 million, and that's always a plus. We're on the restricted side. It decreased about $6.3 million, which I'm okay with because a lot of it was one-time money. Some of these categorical programs need to be spent down, where the more we could spend on the restricted side and less on the unrestricted side, your unrestricted fund balance will continue to grow. But if you net them both out, we hit up with a surplus of $151,000. So your ending fund balances are as follows. So you have the $24.4 million of ending fund unrestricted ending fund balance, and that is 6% of that is your reserve for economic uncertainty, which is $16 million. You have $265,000 for stores, which is your inventory. And we still have that reserve for health and welfare projected savings from the transition from Gold Coast to SIBO, which is about $2.3 million for that one-time savings. Then you have a reserve for declining ADA, $2 million. You have instructional materials at $1.3. You have a district-wide stabilization at $2 million, leaving an undesignated, zero unappropriated ending balance for unrestricted side. Now, if we move over, yes.
Could you explain for people, just because when the 6% reserve, I think, is really important for people to understand, even though the state minimum is 3%, why do we choose to keep 6?
Yeah, I have a slide later on at the end. Our average payroll is about 16 million. So really, if there is a moment which we're probably heading in that direction, where there's no more one-time funds coming in and it's not looking really great for school districts to receive, high levels of COLA. I hope we don't get to that point where we ever have to go out to borrow money, and where there's times where the government does a deferment, which is, hey, we said we'll give you, just for hypothetical, we'll give you your LCFF, we'll pay you in March, but then they change their mind and say, okay, we're not paying you for another 5-6 months. So during that period of time, if you have a level of reserve built up, you could dip into it to pay for operating expenses instead of having to go out to go borrow money. But to me, this 6% is really not enough. It's going to cover you for a month, and the level of deferrals that we've seen they're multiple months at a time. So, yeah. Let's see here. So if we move to our restricted funding balance, this is what makes up the $34.6 million. You have the reserve for Prop 28. You have your Learning Recovery Grant, which is one of the last pots of the one-time funds that are available. All of the ESSER funds are gone. And so we have $15.6 million that would last us till about fiscal year 25-26. You have your expanded learning at $8.6 million. You have educator effectiveness, which is, for now, it's treating it like one time, which is $2.1 million. That pays for professional development days and pretty much PD for our certificated and classified folks. Then you have your lottery. There's that mental health dollars that we received at $1 million. Then you have kitchen infrastructure funds. This normally you guys, the board wouldn't see this here because it belongs to child nutrition, but the way that the state sent us the funds, they came in as unrestricted to not go into child nutrition, so that department could have more flexibility in using the funds, because normally when the funds go directly to child nutrition, they want to purchase some equipment, they have to get approval from their state analysts and whatnot, so this would allow them that flexibility to not have to do that. And then you have equity multiplier, which is $295,000 for Pacific. The remaining is just district grant donations at $798,000. So in summary, the total increase was only $151,358.59, which is still in a surplus. We have 6%. Like I mentioned, our average payroll is 16 million. As you know, compensation has increased, our costs have increased. So, you know, it all is relative. So 16 million now, which only covers 1 month of payroll. And then, you know, revenue, some of the revenues came in higher than expected. Contributions were less than expected, which is good. And then unrestricted ending balance reflects an increase, while the restricted balance shows a decrease because of the district spending down on a lot of the one-time funds that are received. And it's recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the 23-24 unaudited actuals financial report. What would happen next from here is you would see myself come and present the first interim, which is an update to our 24-25 current fiscal year operating budget. And then in December, our auditor will come back and present in front of this board to see how accurately we closed our books. And they'll let you know if there's any findings or not. But so in summary, the final notes that I have is the district's current position is positive. We're still positioned to manage our cash flow without the need to borrow. Need to continue to be prudent in development of its budgets, and the strategy moving forward should be to continue to increase or maintain an enhanced reserve, prioritize spending of any one-time categorical funds, and and then staffing always need to end with that must be monitored at all time. As positions become vacant due to attrition, staffing levels should be analyzed to determine whether any open position must be filled. Staffing makes up about 75–80% of the budget, so it could really swing the budget one way or the other. But with that,
Any further questions for Dr. Mirza?
Yeah, just a clarification. Capital outlay, that was ELOP, you said, or is that?
well, capital outlay was our budget for, that particular variance was the budget for our construction that's going on at the EP Foster Annex. So,
Okay.
you know, we have a set amount of budget based on what the board approved. However, we can't pay those bills until they have completed the work and ordered their supplies. So, and so we're just waiting for them to really continue to provide us with invoices. But when they give us the invoices, we have to check to make sure it's like, hey, did this work get completed? And if not, you can't bill us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So really, that's an ongoing project that will continue into this fiscal year. Yeah.
If there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the unaudited actuals.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Vote as follows. Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Levier?
Yes.
Trustee Forsythe?
Yes.
Trustee Peterson?
Yes.
And Trustee Dannenberg?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0.
Moving on to item 2, consideration of resolution 2416, the GAN limit. Dr. Mirza.
Yeah, so the GAN limit is a requirement that we have to do every year, every fiscal year, and it's part of the unaudited actual. So if this is not approved, they don't approve our unaudited actuals, it's just the compliance fees. But this was based on a proposition from 1979 that really school districts are limited to only spend a certain amount for taxes, but yeah.
And you would say it's very outdated now, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
It's a
outdated.
process we have to go through, but yeah.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Vote as follows. Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Levier?
Yes.
Trustee Forsythe?
Yes.
Trustee Peterson?
Yes.
And Trustee Dannenberg?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0.
Item number 3, request for approval of contracts exceeding $25,000. Anything you want to say about it, Dr. Mirza, before we look at it? It's the... Oh.
For the buses, okay, so there are 3 special ed buses here that we must purchase. Ari, our transportation director, has already brought this to the board for approval. It's just now the buses are available within 6 weeks, and so really it would we need to get them, because most of the time they're about a 1-year lead time, and the department needs them. Question?
Yeah, are these new buses, or are they used, and are they the big ones or
No,
the small
these are
ones?
new sped buses, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And so this year, the district, we're trying to take back the special ed contracts for transportation, and so this would even help more getting us to that point.
And the diesel buses are electric, do we know?
They're not, these are not electric.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I just see the line about the portable AC units. How do we determine which schools get portable AC units? Because I got an email about a school that they're not on the list, who feel they should be on the list, and I was just wondering, was there a certain type
There
of...
is, well, according to facilities, there is a way that they prioritize which school sites get portable AC. So we could get that and draft a memo for what their protocols are to which schools they decide to get it. But ultimately, with the bond, we want to make sure that everywhere has portable, it's not portable ACs, permanent ACs. So really, even at that point, these portable ACs will assist, because as some schools are getting permanent HVACs, and if they currently have portable HVACs, we'll remove those portable ones and move them along to other sites that potentially need it while they wait for their permanent solution.
So am I to understand then we're buying these portable AC units?
Yes. This is, we already purchased them. This is just the cost to install. So the board already, in the previous meeting that we brought the portable AC units to the board for approval, that was already approved. So this is just the cost to install those portable AC units. In the past, we have rented them.
Right.
Yeah.
And Hassan, if you can talk about, because this was a discussion, right? Like the amount for rental versus the amount for purchase.
Yeah, it just far outweighed it. If we're renting them every year, we decided this way we could, they're not bad once we remove them from a particular site, but especially with the timing of our AC units, we felt that, okay, we're spending, I think it was, I forget the total amount, it's been a while, but it was several $100,000 just to rent them every single year, and it wasn't much more to purchase them. So I said, I'm not sure why we haven't purchased them. And so we went ahead and brought it to the board to get approval to purchase. And so now we're going through the install process.
So can I ask that we get information about
Yes.
the schools that don't have portable AC and what, what the timeline would be to get those for them?
Will do.
Do we have a timeline for the permanent AC units to be installed? That's part of the priorities list, right?
We do, Ryan, yeah.
It's on Ryan's list.
Yeah. Good.
Elementary schools. We're doing 4 campuses per year. The reason for that is mainly because of a small limited contractor pool. And we have competition throughout the county with other school districts. So we want to make sure we get, good contractors. Also the coordination with the summer program. So we have multiple programs going on as well as multiple projects. So we want to make sure we're not, interrupting the summer programs. But overall, we're set to have all elementary schools have HVAC at 2027, summer of 2027.
So, this might sound silly, but
Yeah.
the decision to go east to west, was that based on actual temperature data from schools, or was that just an assumption that, because I know like Sunset and EP and Data are fairly warm relative for the west side compared, obviously like the downtown schools tend to have more of a breeze, even though at times it gets really hot.
Not that I'm aware of. The methodology that was kind of given back down to us was to move east to west. We're talking 1 or 2 degree differences. I don't think it's very significant from, outside of Pierpont, which is a dream to be on, but
Yeah, I was just going to say that the decision was consciously made that in general, right? In general, during particular times of year, although you're right, on a daily basis, there can be fluctuations between a couple of degrees, but those couple of degrees can also be higher or in certain periods of certain areas for longer periods of time. So for example, yes, it's true that we can have elevated temperatures on this side of Ventura. When that happens, it's usually kind of punctuated, and it might be for 2 days or 3 days, versus the closer you move to the east end, you would have those elevated temperatures over weeks or months. And so that was the general thought process.
Now, the schools typically have like we just had a heat wave. It doesn't look like we're having a heat wave anytime soon. It's kind of going back down to normal temperature. Typically, does a classroom have protocols if the classroom gets too hot? They go to a different location, because I think that was the main issue, is the class getting too hot for those kids.
Yeah, I'll start on this, and then if anyone wants to come in. One of the, before I answer that directly, one of the issues is we think about, like, let's say, for example, the district would ever get to a place where you would cancel school because of a heat day. Like, so let's get to that hypothetical. One of the thought processes along that line is generally, not always, especially because we have school choice, but generally, when those students aren't in school where they could at least have some regulated temperatures around the area, they could be returning to homes that also do not have air conditioning. And so that's one of the thought processes that it's not always true, right? There's no universal truth there, but one of the things that's a consideration is, would the children also be exposed to higher temperatures outside of school versus being in school? So that's one thing. In terms of on specific days, could large groups of students move into cooler situations? Sure, but I mean, you know, as a teacher, there are other considerations, which are how are those spaces being used? You know, what's the instructional intent of the day? So can they? Absolutely. But each of those things would be a day-to-day decision, working with the administration and other teachers.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions regarding this? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Vote as follows. Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Levere?
Yes.
Trustee Forsythe?
Yes.
Trustee Peterson?
Yes.
And Trustee Dannenberg?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0.
Moving on to our conference agenda. Item A, business services, solar update for Ventura High School.
Okay, it's up on the screen, great. So board, after our last conversations, we had a couple of key takeaways, and the presentation that we have today is based on the feedback that we received last time. Two of those kind of coalesced ideas were you wanted feedback from Ventura High School students, and we had consolidated around one option, and I believe we called that option 2. So we're going to go to them with option 2. The second piece of information that was relevant from you to share with the students is that their input and feedback is critical and will be taken into consideration for potential action from the board, but we should give them the message that also they are not the ones making the decision. And so with that in mind, the methodology that Greg will go through is designed to have both qualitative and quantitative feedback from the students, also to have their informed feedback. So the idea is to make sure that, given that the intent is to support the board's decision, the feedback that we get is also very specifically designed to come from informed students, not just students who may have an opinion who are to get a random survey and not be necessarily invested in that. The final point of that is in terms of like survey and assessment results, there are like 4 or 5 different types of validity. One of those validities is consequential validity. Whenever you want to use the results of an assessment or survey results, the threshold for ensuring that validity and reliability of that survey goes up. And so you end up potentially spending a lot of time and energy to make sure that those results are valid, because otherwise we could potentially be turning this over to the board, and they could be approaching not necessarily being valid for the purposes that they're intended to do. So That's what got us to today. I had shared with a couple of the board members that, given the time sensitivity, we could not be prepared to put this on the agenda prior to. So this will be available for the public afterward, and that will go out. Correct? Okay. All right, Greg.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kessler. Board, as Dr. Kessler said, this plan is designed to implement the feedback and direction that was provided us at the last board meeting. So in working with Principal Rodriguez and Deidre Menares, we constructed this plan. And obviously, Hassan and Ryan were involved in this as well. So we envision using an existing mechanism. VHS students said it, and forgive me, I believe it's called something else at Ventura High School, but the student senates are common. What's it? Oh, she's not here. It's left too soon. Essentially, a student senate is a common structure at many secondary schools where there are 2 students from each class that are elected by that class to go serve in kind of a democratic process on some issues. Sometimes there's voting involved. Oftentimes it's just, hey, these are the issues, give us feedback, help us work these through. We're having trash problems at lunch. What can we do to incentivize students? We have a tardiness issue. So it serves as not as a replacement for a smaller principal advisories committee, but it's a supplement to principal advisory committees and a supplement to ASB. So that issue is in place. So we envision that happening sometime soon. They can have a student senate fairly early. We think we can have it next week. And we would explain the issue, and we would ask the student senators to promote the upcoming focus groups so that there would be kind of that democratic process, that representative process. They would go back, understand the issue, not making a decision yet, but promoting students' engagement at the 4 focus groups there we have in step 2. So key thing, offer pizza, they will come, and we will provide a short PowerPoint presentation over the course of 4 days, a freshman focus group, sophomore focus group, junior, and then senior. We will have that short presentation outlining the board's commitment to solar, the larger picture across all sites, and then some of the specific considerations at Ventura. There'll be a QR code that they will then access for a short survey for those participants only at those sites. So estimated timeline of getting that feedback within the next 2 to 3 weeks. We think we can accomplish that, and I know that there's an upcoming board meeting, but it's unclear whether or not we could accomplish that by the next board meeting. But nonetheless, this is how we see ourselves moving forward on this issue and incorporating your direction and feedback. So these are just a couple of the slides that they'll see in the short PowerPoint presentation while they're having their pizza. We'll talk about the earthquake limitations that prevent many solutions that would seem on the surface to be obvious or preferred. We talk about the overall solar panel amount minimums in order to achieve certain efficiencies and cost savings. And then we talk about the one specific piece of Plan 2, I believe, that would have a more pronounced student campus impact than some of the other placements of the solar panels. And then we have these artistic mock-ups of how these panels would look in the specific area of the Ventura High School campus where we're eliciting feedback, and that is the senior lawn there on the south side of the senior lawn. So we have these 2 sort of student perspective views that we would use, and then of course we'd end with some Q&A, and I'll ultimately end with that survey. So happy to answer any questions or provide any further clarification on the current plan.
Looking at this picture, is this something that NG came up with, or is this? Yeah,
it's a 3D rendering.
It sounds like it's a 3D rendering provided by NG.
Okay, and that's what they believe is going to be kind of the undercarriage of the whole thing. Yes. Is that pretty accurate? Okay, thank you.
With their current design.
With their current design.
Something in the future we can definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Ryan, I just have one. I know the answer to it, but because we had a community member that's very concerned about putting this on the senior lawn, write us today and say, use the student parking lot below the stadium, and we can't do that for earthquake reasons. Is that correct?
Correct. That was the original location, the dream location, if you will. But just, yeah, due to the lack of fault studies that we have in that area, it just didn't behoove the district to move forward.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I thought she was proposing those as a ground array, not as a elevated.
In the area.
In the area
in the grass
immediately
or the
behind the visitor
bush
side.
area. Right. So I saw that comment as well. Given it's being put on an angle, it does require more structural footings underneath the soil, so it still triggers the fault line study.
Any other questions?
Before we move on, I'm sorry, Dr. Dannenberg, not only a question, but any feedback. Does this sound reflective of the guidance and intents from the board last time? It felt like it did, but I just wanted to make sure before we proceed. Looks like a yes. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think it goes far and beyond what I was envisioning, so I appreciate it. It looks really good.
Cougar Forum. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure we, that's the name of the industry.
Did Ryan pass you that info?
Okay. Moving on to our consent calendar, items 16A1 to 16D3. Are there any items that any one board member would like pulled for separate discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Vote as follows. Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Lavier?
Yes.
Trustee Forsythe?
Yes.
Trustee Peterson?
Yes.
And Trustee Dannenberg?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Okay. Board reports from ad hoc committees. Any board reports?
Yes, I have a couple. So first, I want to say last week, but maybe it was the week before, Dr. Castro and I were invited to present at the College Area Community Council, and we gave an update on kind of things that were going on around the district that the average community member might not be aware of. We talked about the electric school buses and like the sand volleyball courts and some of the things that if you're on a campus you might have heard about, but that if you're a community member that's adjacent to one of our schools, you'd be interested in. And Dr. Castro gave an update on kind of where we are with how we've used the parcel tax that is expiring. And so he gave an update to the community, which I think was well received. Actually, we were a last minute add-on to their calendar because Monique Limon was busy. So worked in our favor. It was always, it's always nice to fill Monique's spots. And then also last week we had the Ventura College, VUSD, and City liaison meeting. And we had a chance to talk about quite a few things. Dual enrollment, which was something that Trustee Chancer from the College District wanted to talk about, and it was great to see that dovetailed with today's presentation by Buena High School, because it's a real push for the community college and also for us. There's an echo. And then we also talked about the plan to extend the free ridership for college and under 18 students on VCTC. So that's a grant-funded program that VCTC dedicates funds to, and they still envision having 2 more years of those funds available for students. We got an update on VC's plan to build student housing on their campus, which, if you don't know, is going to go where the old pool used to be. It's envisioned to stay in the shadow of the stadium, so it shouldn't really impact views from the neighboring community, but will add several hundred student units, which they say they have a really sizable number of students who are living in cars and homeless who are regular full-time students at VC. So they have a real need for that. We talked a little bit about the West Side Pool. Jim Duran wanted to find out where the district was on that. And then we had probably our most substantive conversation to date on joint use agreements. We've been hearing a lot about the issues of schools and parks and people being there. And so we had a chance to have that conversation with council and with our staff, and sure more will come. And then the only other thing is it's back to school night season. And so I have been at a number of back to school nights, EP, Cabrillo, Data, Pierpont, Anacapa, and Will Rogers, all really fun. And it's always great to see our staff and our kids. And each one is different and special. And so it's been really enjoyable.
I went on some site visits I think it was last Friday with Dr. Castro and Sabrina. We went to Loma Vista, Anacapa, Lincoln, and Ventura High. So it was actually my first time on campus at Ventura High. So it was great seeing what they were doing. They were getting set up for their band, and just all the excitement on campus. It was great. So yeah, thank you.
So I attended the Westside Community Council on the 5th. The presenters were the Ojai Valley Land Conservancy Parkway Preservation. We did a little workshop there, and also Bike for Cause. And that is done by our staff member, Carlos, who I believe he works with ELOP. And he's a very cool, motivated individual, and we're lucky to have him as staff. Next, the three of us attended the Masters in Governance, and that was very informative. Really talked about kind of like the legal aspect, and we did some role playing. And I think Calvin absolutely killed it. You ask him later what character he played, and that was fun. And I wouldn't want to sit across Dr. Dannenberg from a table from what did you play? A union rep? I played the union. Yeah. Man, I don't want to sit across the table from him. I'm going to tell you that. Next, I went to Steve Bennett's office. I got invited there by Atticus Reyes, where we discussed. He's our assembly member. We discussed kind of the governor's budget. We also discussed workforce housing and also, obstacles for improving the 33 on-ramp and off-ramp. Either an upgrade or getting grants for that would be quite challenging. Finally, back to school night at E.B. Foster, which was amazing, and Sabrina was there as well. So it was a good time. Thank you.
As James said, we did the Masters in Governance. It was a pretty fun role play. I got to play a right-winged president of a school board, so it was really fun. And then we're going to be at tomorrow, I believe, is back to school night at, is it Mound? I think the Mound is tomorrow. Yeah, so I'll be at Mound tomorrow. And that's all for me.
The one thing I attended that we haven't talked about yet is the Parent Advisory Committee meeting. We had some lengthy discussions about a number of issues, but one of the issues that came up and was gone over was this form that we've all seen, and the parents gave a lot of good feedback on how to make this more user-friendly for parents to understand. So I think we'll be seeing some changes in this possibly in the future. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. And then also, besides back to school nights, I attended the 7-Eleven committee meeting last week, where we were talking about the issue of our waiver process going forward. And so it was just want to thank all those people that come out and take part and help us with that, because it's an important job. And if there's anybody out there that wants to get involved, I know we're always looking for new members. So please let Dr. Mirza know if you're interested in being on that committee. Okay.
I actually forgot that African American Parent Council is going to have their first, it's going to be a virtual meeting. So that's tomorrow, I believe, at 6 o'clock.
Okay, moving on to coming events.
Well, as it is, it's coming up on screen. You've actually helped me out with these back to school. So your noted back to school nights check, AAPC check, CDAC coming up later in the week on the 13th, Teacher of the Month celebration at Montalvo. and then our DLAC on the 19th. So thank you for your assistance. That was fantastic.
Okay. Future board items. We have the study session for FICMAT coming up, the Historical Preservation of Washington School, and joint use agreements. Is there anything else the board would like to have added to future agenda items? Hearing none, we'll move on then to board superintendent comments. Any additional comments from the board?
I just want to let you all know that there's a river trail ribbon cutting that's going to be at the end of Sycamore Village, and you just kind of walk up towards Ojai, and it'll be right there. That's what I was told. And that's at 4 o'clock on the 13th, which is this Friday.
I did have one other thing. So there is a candidate forum for city council members and for school board candidates this Thursday at Cabrillo. City council starts at 6:30 and school board starts at 8:30. And I think it's going to be streamed live. I'm assuming CAPS, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Castro, do you have anything for us?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Well, and I assume we have no need to move into closed session?
We do not.
Okay, before we adjourn, just like to again thank VASE and all our guys that are up here filming, making sure that we're on TV. We appreciate all you do and don't give you enough praise, but you do a great job. So thank you very much. With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Vote as follows. Trustee Rodriguez?
Yes.
Trustee Levier?
Yes.
Trustee Forsythe?
Yes.
Trustee Peterson?
Yes.
And Trustee Dannenberg?
I don't think so. I think we're too early. So, yes, yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.